welcome to Big Balls Fantasy Football, the only show by real fantasy football fans for real fantasy football fans. I'm your host, 20-year fantasy veteran, Greg Reifsteck.
And I'm your co-host, Jenilee Borek, also a 10-year fantasy veteran and a huge fan of the now 3-0 Chicago Bears. And together we are the beauty
and the beast
of fantasy football experts.
So, we're in week 4, and you have all these situations with bye weeks coming up for about the next 9 weeks. You also have injuries on top of that that are just going to complicate things.
That's right, and some of your players have already busted out. They're all bruised up, banged up, and so you are really going to need us here at Big Balls Fantasy Football to get your lineup in order, survive these bye weeks, and still get some wins.
So, you're going to have to go to the waiver wire for sure. So we're going to break that down, and Jenilee's going to start you off.
Yeah, there's basically 2 ways that you can survive these bye weeks. And one is be brave off of your bench. Now there's a reason that you drafted in the later rounds players to put on your bench, not only to put in place for injured players, but those are the players that you're going to get in your lineup in your bye weeks. And they should be players that can get you at least some double-digit points and can score consistently. Even if they don't ball as much as your starters, they should be consistent, and that's why you drafted them.
Now, this week, you have Green Bay and Carolina to deal with. You know, that's nothing. You're going to have to get some damn depth on that bench. So, you're going to have to go to the waiver wire, but you don't want to go for, as Pro says, those one-hit blunders, the guys that go off one week and just, taper out the next. You're going to have to get some guys that you sit on your bench and are going to be consistent, so that way when you need them week 6, week 7, week 8, they're going to be ready to go. You want people that have consistent scoring each week.
That's right, and to do that, I think you really need to look at the schedules of certain players ahead of time while you're going to the waiver wire. Check out their next 3 or 4 weeks, the teams that they're playing against, to see who you can get the most points from.
Definitely. I mean, the other thing you have to realize is, you're going to have to drop some people that are, players that were supposed to be studs, but all of a sudden didn't do very good. And we're going to get into that now, just like we did last week. It's going to be another segment, generally, of bench, trade, or drop, or as I like to call it, stop, drop, and roll, but I'm old school, so anyway. Should I start us off?
Yeah, start us off.
All right. Colin Kaepernick. Everybody, that's exactly what everybody was saying last week. We were watching the game live over at Tin Horn Hollywood, and everybody's just going, when is this guy going to go off? He's at home. He's up against a pretty feeble Colts defense. Why the hell isn't he going off? He just didn't. I think it's a problem with all these read option teams. They thought they were going to be able to run this, and the defenses have figured it out. Or you have RG3 who got injured last season, so all of the coaches are just chicken shit and don't want to get their guys hurt. But with Kaepernick, I think I'm going to put him on my bench and just wait 1 more week and then maybe bring him back. Or, what the hell, if you really want to gamble, I think he might just come out against the Rams this week. He just might. The Rams defense did bad last week. You might get lucky again.
And I think the thing going on with him is that teams actually have tape on him that they were able to study in the off-season.
Definitely.
So I think that's making a big difference as teams and defenses have had some time to figure out what he does well and kind of game plan for him a little bit more.
That's it. You kept saying, you said, until I see him do a whole season, Greg, you shouldn't buy that t-shirt, but I bought the damn t-shirt.
You bought the t-shirt.
I bought the damn t-shirt. So, our next one
is DWAYNE, and I will get into a little more detail about him later, but I personally have him on my team, and it's like what to do with him. He's only had 9 receptions for 90 yards so far, so he hasn't even gotten over 100 yards in 3 games total, and he only has 1 touchdown. Now, he's a player that personally I'm going to say you cannot bench just yet. And again, I will go into more detail about that in my Real Man segment.
Third one in this segment is Eli Manning. Now, Everybody's been putting up with him. We all know the Giants have been doing just piss poor. They have no running game. So he has been able to get that passing game going, and the line on the Giants has just been disgusting. So he's been getting into situations where he's had to dump off the ball, and he's been throwing a ton of picks. So what do you do with him? Some people have actually dropped him in leagues.
But he could be trade bait.
That's what I think you should do. I think you should trade him because he still has value, and I think you're going to be able to get somebody good out of him because eventually, as you have told me, and as I agree, the Giants are going to figure out they're the Giants. They always start out slow. They were just starting out really slow this year, but they're going to win at least 8 games, 9 games. So what the hell? You know, trade him, let somebody else deal with the problem. You get somebody that's a little more consistent.
Absolutely. So are we going to talk to them about our awesome Bears game, our third Bears win?
Of course we're going to talk about the Bears game. What was the final score?
It was 40-23. When is the last time the Bears have put up 40 points?
I know. And I was actually worried because it was in Pittsburgh. You know, I'm like, Steel City. Every Steelers fan would walk up to me and go, "You're going to kick our ass. You're going to kick our ass." And I'm like, it's not guaranteed. And of course, we remember watching that game. We remember that third quarter, don't we?
Yep, they were coming back in the third quarter. I mean, the whole first half, it just seemed to be like the Bears were clicking, and they started off fast, which typically doesn't happen. And then they did nothing in the third quarter, and the Steelers got back into it. Antonio Brown was one guy on the Steelers that was fantasy amazingly beastie golden. So.
Yeah. I mean, Jay Cutler is he's still in that consistent mode for fantasy. I mean, he got about, I think it was like 157, 159 yards, you know, but he won the game for us. And Matt Forte went totally off. He got 87 yards and a touchdown. I wish he would have broke 100. I mean, the big thing was our defense, and I will be getting into them in my Beast Mode segment because the Bears' defense was just astounding to watch. They kept us in that game.
And the thing about Cutler was he didn't turn over the ball either.
Yes.
So there was, you know, they were really protecting the ball on offense. And Alshon Jeffrey finally got a few catches. I think he had at least 5 receptions.
Yes.
Most of them came in the first half. But they're getting him involved more a little bit too. So that is great for us Bears fans. Marshall did not do so great this week. It was one of his lowest scoring fantasy weeks that I've seen. I have him on my team too. But, you know, with that many weapons, it's going to happen.
Just on a side note, I mean, a lot, not just the 3 that we were talking about, a lot of big players last week were pretty bad on fantasy, and a lot of your surefire teams that you thought were going to win, a lot of, you know, lower players of people got lucky off the waiver wire won. That's fantasy football, people. What is it besides picking the right players? It's luck.
Well, and teams are still getting to know themselves. So, you know, some teams are still finding their identity.
Right.
Lots of new coaches. So it'll, you know, be interesting when we're like halfway in the season to really see what players are really beasting out.
Definitely. So, speaking of beasting, let's get the real men first, though. Ladies always go first here on Big Balls Fantasy Football. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's get to my real men.
All right, real men, coming up. We know you're here on the Big Balls Fantasy Football YouTube page, probably watching us, but we also have a weekly podcast that goes for an hour every week where you can listen to us give you different picks than we give you on this show. Go to blogtalkradio.com/bigballsfootball. Listen to us every week. You can call in, look for the number on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/bigballsfantasyfootball. We post a number every week. We tell you when to call. Call us with your questions. We'll have your answers on the show.
And of course, don't forget to tweet us at BigBallsFBall. We want to hear you guys and get more questions from you guys. And you can find all of our social media on our main official website, bigballsfantasyfootball.com.
Thanks for watching.
I need a real man. Have you seen him?
So welcome to my Real Man segment, and I have 3 real men again for you guys this week, and these are guys that you need to get in your starting lineup. Now my first real man for you guys is quarterback Tony Romo, and I like him because so far he's thrown 6 touchdowns and only 1 interception. So he's taking care of the ball so far a lot more this season. Now, the Dallas Cowboys play the San Diego Chargers this week, and the Chargers have the worst passing defense in the league over the first 3 games. So this is a great matchup for him. Also, the Cowboys are committed to the run. DeMarco Murray had a great game last week, and so that really helps open up the passing game for Romo as well. And San Diego has shown that even though their defense is terrible, their offense can put up some points, so we might be looking at a possible shootout a little bit. Should be fun, and Romo should have a good game. And my second real man for you guys is wide receiver DWAYNE BOWE. Now don't give up on him yet. I know he's had less than 100 yards receiving so far over 3 games and only 1 touchdown. I talked about that a little bit in the intro, but I think this week is going to be his comeback week. The Giants have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers this far over 3 games. Also, we know that Kansas City's defense is beasting out. So I think Eli is going to have another tough game, which should give Kansas City's offense more time on the field. And, you know, DWAYNE BOWE did sign a 5-year contract for $56 million. So they're not just going to have him running routes and not catching balls. Andy Reid and Alex Smith are going to have to get him going. Keep him in your lineup this week. This is a great matchup for him. If he doesn't produce, we might tell you to bench him later. And my third real man for you guys is tight end Heath Miller. Now, he might be a really good pick off the waiver wire because you might have Finley or Greg Olsen, and of course those 2 teams are on buys. He only had 3 catches for 35 yards in his first game back, but they do want to get him more snaps since he came out of that game healthy, so he should be on the field a lot more this week. They play the Vikings, who have given up the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends. So this is a great week for him to break out and for him and Ben to get back in their rhythm that they had last year. And both teams are 0-3. The Steelers really need a boost because their run game is pretty much non-existent. He's that guy that can give them a little bit of a boost on offense, help out that offensive line so that Ben can get the ball out quickly. So those are my 3 real men for you guys this week. Hopefully they produce a lot of points for you. And we're going to throw it over to Greg for his Beast Mode segment.
Who's that crazy bastard with the football? Oh shoot, that's me. I'm going to take you into beast mode this week with 3 players that are going to tear the opponent's head off and just crap down their neck and get you a ton of points this week. My first beast this week is Alex Smith of the Chiefs. We saw them just go crazy on the Eagles' substandard defense last week, and he is just going to keep going and being consistent. This week he has the Giants, who got killed last week, 38-0. This is going to be just disgusting. He went 22 for 35, 273 yards against the Eagles last week. For the season, he has 4 touchdowns, 669 yards. I know the touchdowns are a little low, but that yardage is good. And if you're in PPR, he's gotten a lot of targets made. He got 2 touchdowns against the Cowboys. He got 2 touchdowns against the Jaguars. I think, and he also, the bonus was he went 7 for 7 to Donnie Avery last week. Might not be a bad guy to stash on your bench. He might just take DWAYNE BOWE's place. Sorry, Jenilee, you never know, right? Who the next big guy is. McCluster is still a threat. That's another target. You know, there's just so many weapons that Reid has in this offense for Alex to go to. I predict 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against the against the Giants this week. My second pick is Trent Richardson, who used to be a Brown, now he's a Colt. We talked about it on our podcast last week. Shocking trade. We have no idea what the Browns were thinking. Guess what happens? He goes to the Colts, hasn't even been there a week. He gets a touchdown on his first snap out of scrimmage. Hey man, you can't beat that, right? This week, he is going to be playing the Jaguars. That's why I brought them up. He is going to go completely nuts. I know Marshawn Lynch, I'm sorry, last week, he didn't get points for me, he didn't get points for you. Who thought he wasn't going to get points against the Jaguars? I think this week, Trent Richardson is going to get points against the Jaguars, and he's going to have a full week of practice. I mean, he's going to know that playbook a lot better, and he is just going to go crazy. My third pick is, as we talked about in the intro, the 5 turnover this week against the Steelers Bears defense. That's right. Jenilee and I watched them live, and they just looked superb. Major Wright runs one back, pick 6. Earlier this season, Tim Jennings ran one back for a pick 6. We are a turnover machine. I know that we haven't been stopping them points-wise, but when you get turnovers, of course, in fantasy, you're going to get a lot of points. They've had 6 fumble recoveries also this season, and I mean, we're playing the Lions this week. I know it's a divisional matchup, and I always say divisional matchups are fantasy poison. But these games have usually turned into shootouts, and they've turned into shootouts because our Bears defense have had to keep us in games. You're going to get a lot of points off of turnovers. Lions are going to put up a lot of points. Jenilee and I are going to be doing a lot of drinking at the Tin Horn this weekend, just praying that our team wins, but you're going to be getting points out of the Bears defense, I guarantee it this week. So next, we are going to go to our Smash and Grab segment this week. Smash is going to give you some waiver wire picks that you might not think are going to score a lot, but she's going to guarantee they are. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Big Balls Fantasy Football. I'm Smash, and we're doing the Smash and Grab segment right here from Outpost Sports Bar and Grill in Hollywood, California. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 3 Smash and Grabs for this week, and I'm actually going to kind of parlay it from last week because I haven't gotten to do it since this is week 3 of fantasy football. I haven't actually gotten to talk about any picks off the waiver wire yet. So my first one is my very own Eddie Royal from the San Diego Chargers. He had an first amazing 2 weeks with the San Diego Chargers. A lot of throws to him and touchdowns. This past week he was only shot at 2 times with the San Diego Chargers against the Tennessee Titans. And so he did not produce a lot of numbers this week, but I still believe that he is worth picking up and putting on your bench, if not to play him. Everyone on the Chargers team has been very under the radar, and no one's actually picking them up because obviously they're the Chargers. As much as I love them, they're the Chargers. They are all sitting on the waiver wire for a reason, because no one believes in them. But if you watch the first 2 weeks of football, and if you've seen fantasy football points, you're going to know that Eddie Royal is actually someone to watch. With the outs of Malcolm Floyd and Matt Tio not even playing again this week, and Ryan Matthews only doing so much, I really do think still strongly that Eddie Royal will be a good person that Phillip Rivers is going to be throwing to for the rest of the season. Play him or not, I still definitely think that he is a good person to keep. My second smash and grab is Jonathan Franklin from the Green Bay Packers. He is replacing James Starks, who's coming off of a knee injury right now. So this rookie has now rushed 13 times for 103 yards and a touchdown, despite their loss to the Bengals. He is a person that even if Eddie Lacy comes back off his concussion, they're on a bye week right now. So Eddie Lacy can still come back. We know that. But he's definitely a person you should definitely pick up and at least put on your bench, because he's the person that they're going to put with their third down situations. He is a key player in all of these situations. He comes through in the clutch and he makes the plays. Eddie Lacy, we still don't know how he's going to be doing with his concussion despite the bye week. So if you're going to pick up someone and he's still in your waiver wire, pick up Jonathan Franklin from the Packers. He will probably do you something good. My last pick for the day is a defense. It's not a player, it's a defense. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City has been playing amazing. They are 3-0 right now. Alex Smith has totally revamped the Kansas City Chiefs, which I'm really excited to see actually, because as far as a person that's a fan of obviously the AFC West, I was really excited to see Alex Smith come to Kansas City to begin with. They're going to come out and play next week the Giants that are now 0-3. These were Super Bowl contenders like not even a year ago. They can't produce anything. They have a great defensive line. Alex Smith is an amazing quarterback. I picked him up this week and dropped the Houston Texans from my defense. Their defense, they have much stronger. Houston Texans are playing Seattle this next week. Why would I put up my fantasy points against Seattle? Seattle is dominating. I dropped Houston, picked up Kansas City. They're playing the Giants. That's big fantasy points for anyone that's out there. If they're on your waiver wire, pick them up. And that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys have a great fantasy football week.
So Greg actually went out for Monday Night Football last night to Outpost, and how was it?
That is the Hollywood Broncos bar, and I ended up a few weeks before meeting Smash's friend Alexis, aka Lexi, and she is an insane Broncos fan. You might have seen the picture I took of her, that somebody took of the two of us and was up on the Facebook page. She's nuts. And she took us to this bar, and I was sitting down in the seat, first of all, on the right side of the bar, and all of a sudden I was consumed by the black hole, because there were about 4 Raiders fans, and about 10 Raiders fans, and about 20 Raiders fans. And I thought this was a Broncos bar. Apparently they decided to take over and invade. So I moved over to the other side of the bar, the Broncos fans showed up, and we're going to show you some of the crazy Bronco fans at the Outpost right now.
Let's see it.
All right. Hey, I'm here at Big Balls Fantasy Football. We are here with Superfan Lexi, who's going to show us the Broncos experience here at the Hollywood Broncos bar, the Outpost. Denver is going to kick some ass tonight over the Raiders, and we're going to give you some scoring predictions right now. Who's going to win?
Broncos!
Broncos? Really? By how much?
A bazillion points.
A bazillion.
And the Raiders are going to be negative because they suck.
My prediction on the game for the actual score, 42.
I'd say 42-7.
No, it was
Broncos.
42-9.
What is your prediction for this game?
My prediction is 45-14 Broncos, of course.
You really are giving that much faith to the Raiders?
Yeah, I give them
2 touchdowns.
I think they'll get 2 touchdowns.
I will be surprised if they do.
I'll be shocked too, but we'll see what happens. All right, man. Give me a prediction on how many points Peyton Manning is going to get tonight in fantasy. Fantasy? Yeah. Let's say like 42. 42? 42 sounds about right. 42?
How many Broncos do you have in fantasy football?
I got 1.
You have 1.
Last year I had 3.
You got
Decker.
You got Decker.
Yeah, last year I had Demarius, Decker, and I think I was Peyton Manning.
Being a Bronco fan, please tell me you don't have anyone from the Raiders on your fantasy football team. Okay, good. We're good. Keep winning via that. So you're a fantasy football fan.
Yes, I am.
That's awesome. And you just said what, you're 3-0?
I'm 3-0 in 2 different leagues.
3-0 in 2 different leagues. Tell me your team name.
My team name, Team Hollywood and Team Hollywood 2.0.
All right.
Yes.
How many of the Broncos do you have on your fantasy football team?
3.
3. Which
Yes.
one?
I got got Ronnie Hillman, Monty Ball, and I got the defense.
Oh, wow. Awesome. And how's it doing for you so far?
Defense is cool. Hillman and Ball haven't really done much yet.
Okay, and as a Bronco fan, please tell me you don't have any Raiders.
No.
Thank you.
No.
Again,
Make sure you get a piece of her face, because they suck.
Here we have our. So you're a Raider fan. Why are you associating with them at all tonight?
Because I'm his boss.
Oh.
He has to be nice.
I got you.
But it's always nice being able to see friendly rivalries.
Yes.
As much
Indeed.
as I hate the Raiders, I still love my friends that support them. Thank you.
Johnny, a true die-hard Denver fan. Now, show us your tattoo. Show us what a Denver fan's tattoo.
I got this little shindig on my arm there.
Holy shit.
Going to old school Broncos. Yeah.
Damn right.
That's back in the 80s right there. That's when we had the Three Amigos. Do you remember the Three Amigos?
I love it.
Mark Jackson.
Yeah, do the dance.
Do the dance.
We go way back, John. We go way back, Bronco fans.
That's born and raised, that's Elway, that's Colorado,
right?
Colorado Rockies. The Rockies just running through that.
Love it.
Yeah, last year he walked in here, there was a rusty nail here, and cut him, and then orange and blue started going all the way down.
Swear to God, true story. It's weird. I was going away too.
Tell us all about the Colorado green chili, too. Let me know about the Colorado.
I make the best green chili in LA. Probably the only green chili in LA. If you want good green chili, come to my place.
Go Broncos! I'm wearing lightning.
Lightning.
Mascot of the Denver Broncos.
Aw, love it. And he's wearing this shirt for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Which, coincidentally enough, is next month. So
Exactly.
after this week, it will be Breast Cancer Awareness
Yes.
I have a big
Month.
spot now.
I have a big spot for breasts too.
So, okay, I gotta ask you, Joe, how big of a fan are you of the Denver Broncos? You're wearing a pink jersey.
Unbelievably big fan. I mean, like a guy wearing a pink jersey in Hollywood.
And you pull it off really well.
Oh, thanks.
You do. So what do you think the score will be for the Broncos versus Raiders?
It's 30-7 now in the third quarter. It'll probably be 42-10. 32.
Okay, so it's kind of the same prediction as Smash does, so that's a good thing. So keep it up, Broncos.
Peyton fucking Manning. BFM.
Yeah. Say that again.
Right now, you're wearing this jersey, and you're trying to decide between those two women which one you're gonna lay first. It's not who am I gonna lay.
This is actually
which one am I gonna lay?
This is the Pink for Pink campaign.
Oh my God. Oh wow. Well said.
People think because you wear pink you're gay. He is showing you, you know what? Pink is to get you laid.
It's an attention getter. That's all you need to get in your foot in the door, and then hopefully.
Okay, so my prediction was not completely correct, but the Broncos did still win 37-14. With Lexia, our super Broncos fan, how do you feel about the win?
You know what? I'm really excited, but I'm not surprised. I knew we were going to take down the Raiders because I think it's funny. The Raiders think every time they play the Broncos, they're going to kick our butts. But guess what? We took you down once again.
So as you can see, we like to get out there and mix it up with the fans and go to different bars. So that looked really fun, Greg.
Oh yeah, we met a lot of fun people, as you could see, and all I have is two things to say. The highlights, lightning the horse head, and a pink Broncos jersey. Yeah, it will get you laid, guys. But you can't look like me. I'd look like a sausage. That dude was getting laid.
So now we have AJ, aka Lady Justice, on, and she's going to give us her Patriots report, and I'm excited for that.
Me too. Let's go to it.
Damn, girl, you are really losing some weight. What is your diet? And don't tell me it's the Kim Kardashian purge diet.
Oh, absolutely not. No. I'm on a much better diet. I'm on the Chargers rebuilding year diet.
Okay, how does that work?
It's kind of like Weight Watchers, but in reverse. So every time the Chargers lose points, I lose pounds. Every time Rivers throws an incompletion, I get to eat an apple. Every time Matthews fumbles the ball, I get a carrot stick. Every time Rivers throws a pick, I get to pick up a salad. And every time the Chargers go and fumble the end of the game snap, I get a smoothie for dessert.
That must be a really great cleanse. I've been looking for one.
And the secret really is, every time Matthews gets injured every 3 to 4 weeks, I go get a colon.
You are glowing, and I knew something was different.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what's his deal?
Oh yeah, he's just on the Monsters of the Midway Bears diet. It's like really, it's offensive. It's bad.
Oh, man. Every single time Jay Cutler throws a touchdown, I get to have one of these beers. But every single time the Bears, my beautiful Bears, win, I get to get a Giordano's pizza sent to me in the mail from my sweet home Chicago, and I gorge myself on the entire thing.
Ugh, no wonder you're packing on the pounds.
Oh, you bet, honey.
Ugh, still not gonna beat the Packers, though.
We're gonna beat the Packers not once, we're gonna beat them twice. And each time, I'm gonna go up to damn Wisconsin, and I'm gonna go to their brat stop, and I'm gonna have one of their big old brats, and I'm gonna get a bunch of cheese curds. I'm just gonna gorge myself.
Okay, Greg, I cannot be joining you on that because when the Bears win this Super Bowl, you're gonna have a heart attack.
Oh no, honey, that's not when I'm gonna have a heart attack. I'm gonna have a heart attack when those damn Cubs win the World Series.
The Cubs.
Oh, the Cubs.
To learn more about the Chargers year rebuilding diet, call 1-800-555-THINKS-NORV.
Welcome back to Big Balls Fantasy Football. I'm A.J. Lawrence, your New England Patriots correspondent, and I'm here to give you a little bit of an update on the New England Patriots. Now, you know the Pats have not been doing so well as initially hoped this season, and as I would say, they've only won 1.7 of the 3 games that they've played. But there are some silver linings for you fantasy owners out there, and so I'm going to break it down for you. To give you a recap about the last 3 weeks, we started out week 1 with a game against the Bills, season opener, and we prevailed 23-13. Week 2, going against the New York Jets and Geno Smith, rookie quarterback. You would have thought we'd produce a little bit more, but we didn't. Ending score 13-10. Last week 3, looking pretty good, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We held it down 23-3. Now, looking at the individual players, things have been a little bit rough for our main man, Tom Brady. He's used to producing a mass amount of yards, and unfortunately this season, we're only looking at a starting yardage of 698, 5 touchdowns. That's not the Brady we've come to know and love. In fact, when he played against the Jets in week 2, he only threw for 185 yards. He's used to throwing for 300 plus in the last 4 games against the Jets. Things are not going strong. He's working with the new offensive line, but he does have weapons in his arsenal, and when they're locked and loaded, there's going to be a lot to say. Now, moving on to Amendola, not too much to say about him at all. In week 1, that was his last game. He produced about 10 fantasy points, 104 yards. He's still out on injury. But we are seeing a lot now from Kenbrell Thompson, who's been pretty solid. He's been averaging about 45 yards per game and has a total of 24 fantasy points. And Dodson, he's been doing pretty good. He was out the first week, second and third week. He had about 55 on average yardage, and he did score 1 touchdown against New York Jets, which was very necessary in our low-scoring game. Both of those 2 fantasy owners should pay quite attention to because I think they're going to bring some pretty good scores coming to pass. Also, Edelman has been doing exceptionally well. In the first week, he started out with 44 yards, and then he moved to 78 yards in week 2 and 79 in week 3. If that says anything about progress, I think we're looking pretty good. So keep him around. And looking at the running backs, Blunt, we had 15 yards to start with in week 1. Week 2, only 11 yards. Week 3, 65. That says a lot as well about progress. Of course, he was going against his former team, the Buccaneers, but I think he is going to do quite well, so you might also want to keep him around. One person you probably won't want to keep around is Ridley. I'm sure he's a really nice man. He'd save drowning kittens, but he has been an utter disappointment. The yardage he's been putting up, it's been weaker than words. First week, we had 46 yards. Second week, 40 yards. Last week, 35. The numbers are getting lower. Jump off the ship, it's sinking. We're looking at Bolden. First week, 51 yards. He's still out on an injury. Might want to let him go too if you're holding on. And we know the beloved Gronkowski is still day-to-day. We do not know if he's going to be playing for the Falcons or playing against the Falcons this weekend, but fantasy owners, hold your horses. Do not press go. This is a good man. You're going to want to hold on to him. When they release the Kraken, there will be a lot of fantasy points right and left. As far as kickers go, Gostkowski has been producing good. We had 10.7 fantasy points on average for a total of 32 fantasy points. That's someone you're going to want to keep around because it seems the Patriots like to get to the goal line but aren't necessarily equipped to get it over. So they might rely on their kicker a little bit more until they get fully situated. Altogether, the New England Patriots have a lot of opportunities but a lot of work. They're used to playing like a symphony. Now they're bumping beats like a busted 8-track tape. But in a few months, I think things will turn around. Either way, you've got a lot of winners and you should keep them.
Jenilee's over in the corner there with her hands over here. She can't hear anymore about the Patriots. I'm stomaching it. I'm okay. I'm okay. That was a great report from AJ. Thank you so much for that. And next week, she's going to come back and give us a Tom Brady balls profile that you're not going to forget. Take you through the trials and tribulations, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Of course, we all know it's mostly the good of Tom Brady and his career on the Patriots. Tune in next week. We're gonna have your Week 5 picks. Watch for us on YouTube here. Listen to our podcast on blogtalkradio.com. We'll see you next week.